Hey everyone, this is Scott from Forgot to Grow Up. Welcome to our latest ReWatch Revisit review. Our video series where I rewatch a movie I haven't seen in a while, talk about my thoughts after revisiting it, and then give you guys my review as well as the critics and audience review for the movie. So today I'm going to be talking about Star Trek First Contact from 1996. Captain Picard and the crew of the Enterprise are back and they have to stop the Borg from preventing first contact by having to travel through time, and so this one I revisited and rewatched because of the new Star Trek Picard series, which I'm really enjoying, and I thought it'd be a great chance to go back and rewatch all the Star Trek movies that feature Captain Picard. So I'm on to the second one. I did rewatch the first one, which was Star Trek Generations. I'll be sure to link that in the cards in the description below if you want to check that out. But yes, so First Contact, like I said, this is the Enterprise versus the Borg in this one. There's time travel, but not yes and no. Like obviously they traveled through time, and they have to prevent the Borg from preventing first contact or the launch of the the first warp drive flight, which then is what leads to first contact. So this one I really enjoyed revisiting because this is the one I've rewatched, or at least remember the most in my mind. I think this was probably the one my family watched the most growing up. It's the one that always sticks out in my head when you say Star Trek movie. This is the one that pops up into my head is the crew of the Enterprise going up against the Borg, particularly Jean-Luc Picard and the Borg. They have their special relationship from the show, and I love that they bring it into this movie. And I'm pretty sure I probably discovered this first, actually, the Borg, through this movie before the TV show, actually, just based off the timeline. This movie came out when I was like 3, so it would make sense that I probably would have seen this movie before watching the show. But that being said, it's hard to say. My Star Trek exposure when I was younger was controlled by my parents, so it was like whatever they were watching is what I was watching, and so yeah. But I do really have a lot of recollections of this one. I think particularly this one stuck out to me when I was a kid because it does kind of involve a little bit more a little closer to our era of space travel. You have this guy who's building his own rocket and trying to develop the first warp drive, and in the era they go to for that, which is still 2060, I believe, which is obviously in the future from now, but it still has this vibe of being kind of 21st century-esque. They kind of have that kind of feel to it, so that's why I think I connected to it. When I was a kid, I always wanted to be an astronaut, so I think this one having that tie plus the Borg, who are my favorite Star Trek villains or enemies in Star Trek, so I really enjoy this one because of that. I really love the challenge they present present Starfleet and all our crews that end up having to interact with them, because the Borg really put a little damper in what they're used to. So I just kind of really enjoy that, and the different elements that the Borg kind of bring in with their assimilation. You get so many different possibilities with the Borg. So yeah, I just really enjoyed rewatching this one, revisiting this one, because yes, it's the one I definitely revisit the most. To me, it's I think for some people, Wrath of Khan is probably the Star Trek when they think Star Trek movie, that's what they think of, but this is it for me. First Contact is not, I want to say my Star Trek movie, but it's the one that when I think Star Trek, this is the one my mind goes to. But so yeah, this rewatch was kind of really fun. It was especially I'm really enjoying it because like I said, we started the Picard series. We're only getting one episode a week, and so it's nice to kind of fill it in with that and be able to go revisit Next Generation to get a little bit more Picard and get my dose up. That's one great thing about Star Trek for me, especially, is because I grew up with my parents watching it. It wasn't one of those ones I've revisited too many times on my own, so it's kind of fun that now I can revisit it again with having the new stuff of Discovery and now Picard, in addition to all the old stuff to go revisit. So yeah, this one was a really fun revisit for that. So obviously I give it a really high rating, but I feel I'm probably biased. But then I saw the Rotten Tomatoes score, which is what I'm going to be talking about now, which is what actually surprised me about this. Not that I don't agree with what the critics actually gave, it just surprised me because the critics hated Star Trek Generations. So comparing Star Trek Generations score to Star Trek First Contact score is kind of funny, because the critics gave Star Trek First Contact a 93%, which is great. That's that's a freaking awesome score. I was like, that's oh wow, you critics really loved it, and I agree. It's a great movie, and they should love it. But it's just funny to see that First Contact has quite literally double the score of the last Star Trek, or the one before this Star Trek movie, which was Generations, which had a 47%. So it's really funny that from one Star Trek movie to the next, they were able to very much improve on what they did in the critics' mind, at least. But again, these older movies, not that it's that old, but movies that came out before Rotten Tomatoes was popular, or before it even existed for that matter, don't have as many ratings. This one I think had just 50 critics ratings to give it the 93. But that being said, I agree with those 50 critics, so I'm glad that this is one of those movies that I enjoy and that critics actually enjoy too. So it's like I'm gonna defend liking this one. And then the audiences also, I gave it a high score, but interestingly enough, the audiences give it a slightly lower score, but there was more of an audience rating, more audience members who rated this on Rotten Tomatoes, and they gave it an 89%. So not that far off. It's still high A plus range. So I really glad that this is what I really like about checking out the Rotten Tomatoes score for these older movies, is it's going to see that kind of interpretation, see where everyone else stands, see where is it like one of these things that I just love because of nostalgia, or is it a little bit more, it's actually a quality movie. So this one seems a little bit more, it's on the quality movie side of things. So that's always fun. But yes, that's pretty much all my thoughts on this rewatch, revisit review for Star Trek First Contact. Be sure to let me know in the comments below what you thought about Star Trek First Contact. Thanks again for joining me today. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and have a good one.